I didn't know how to turn a wrench. I didn't know what vice grips were. I looked at the toolboard and I was totally overwhelmed. But that just made me work harder.
I just happened to walk into the corner and there's a Bugatti EB110 engine just sitting right there.
Yeah,
it's
we're what is this? Oh, the EB110.
Right here.
And you found that little secret couch in the back, too.
Yeah.
I
So
saw you.
that's our spot.
Yeah.
What I really want to do is continue that legacy, but of course, make it my own, provide my own flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to become the best Ferrari mechanical restorer in the world. And I'm going to do everything I can to get there, to learn as much as I possibly can and grow as much as I possibly can. 5, 6, 7, 8.
I did it before
We could do
you
that.
guys.
That could be better.
Hey, so welcome back to another episode of In the Driver's Seat with ABS. If you look at what's behind us, it's not our normal setting. We've actually come back to California. If you remember last year in March, we traveled to LA. We did a ton of podcasts out here. And one of the podcasts that we did was with our great friend, David Swift, who is very close with Jay Leno, his executive producer. We've actually returned to Jay Leno's garage this week, and we're filming with Donald Osborne and Jay Leno in Jay's house. And we've brought about 30 of our cars from Newport, Rhode Island, and one of our storage facilities in Virginia for Assess and Caress with Donald Osborne. So we're super excited to be here, and we brought along our friend, Victoria Bruno, and we wanted to bring her on the show. Victoria is a vintage Ferrari mechanic, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But Victoria, thank you so much for flying out and joining us.
Flying out.
Yeah.
She flew it. Antonio was like, I'm picking her up at the airport. I'm like, she's flying in for this. This is fantastic.
Happy to be here. I mean, it's only a 6.5-hour drive.
Oh, we know.
But
We're going there this weekend.
A 50-minute flight,
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who would do that drive when they could just fly?
Yeah.
We're literally doing the drive.
Also, we should know we are 10 minutes from the airport.
Not
Yeah.
even.
If that,
We're
yeah.
on the
Well,
airport.
the airport is right here.
You'll hear the planes land as we talk. And that is an interesting aspect that you don't see on when we're filming here with Jay, is like, you have to stop every so often because planes are landing and taking off. It's pretty funny.
Well, to Sam's dismay, yesterday we filmed a detailing video outside at the detailing bay.
It was so
I did the first bit of physical labor I've done in a long time, and I was cleaning the Singer. And while we were going through our takes, what, you were about to chirp me, weren't you?
I was, about those floor mats.
Yeah, you got them dirty again. But yeah, so we were doing that, and every couple of minutes we had to stop because the plane would be like, go over. So
The only time I've ever seen Sam upset about a mode of transportation.
That's such a good point.
Sam loves trains.
Big train guy.
All right.
So you've come to the garage. What do you think? You walked around a little bit.
It's overwhelming in the best way possible. I mean, it's different from a Concours event, which I feel like is where you see this quantity of cars. So to have everything just hanging out here with an incredible amount of diversity, it's really cool. I'm excited to actually have a more thorough look through after this. To really, just embrace all the details that are around.
I think what's really crazy about coming here, and just kind of wandering around is that there's so many layers of Jay's like personal history here. And it's not like he just printed stuff and put it on the wall. It's like personal pictures and stuff he was related to and personalized, art that's 10, 20 feet high. And
Yeah,
it's
a lot of stuff he's had commissioned, which is
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can also see the passion behind that. There's an evolution to it, and you can see that he didn't just decide to love cars and buy all of these at one time. There's a story behind each piece.
Right.
What you're saying.
Yeah, it's really nuts. And when we came the first time, even like our garage, like me and Sean talked about this first time we walked in our storage facility before we worked here, you cannot possibly take this in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Like, we've been here for a few days, and I'm just,
it's overwhelming.
In a down moment, I'm just walking the corners and looking at all the little pictures. It's like amazing.
I mean, it happened the other day. We've been in this room filming, and yesterday I just happened to walk into the corner, and there's a Bugatti EB110 engine just sitting right there.
Yeah,
it's
we're what is this? Oh, the EB110.
Right here.
And you found that little secret couch in the back too.
Yeah.
I saw you.
That's our spot.
Yeah, I
saw you.
It is incredible to see, and like Victoria was saying, there is story for every one of the cars. And when Jay flutters around, you know, he loves talking about the stories of the cars and what they represent, you know, where they've been in his life. And it's super cool. And every day he leaves with a different car too to drive home.
So neat.
It's so cool.
It's fantastic, you know, even if there aren't any Ferraris.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. How do you feel about that? Jay's kind of, maybe not notorious, but it's kind of known that he's not a Ferrari guy. And, you know, what would you say to Jay if you had the opportunity to convince him into a Ferrari?
I think that's okay. I think everybody, you know, has the
She's
right
lying,
to...
but
No, I truly... Did you hear, like, the pitch change? No, I think that's the beautiful thing about the car community is there's so much variety and there's so much space for all types of interests within it. And, you know, we have this common ground, which is the community itself and, you know, kind of geeking out over engines and drivetrains and coach building and whatnot. But you're allowed to be passionate about different marques, and I think that's totally okay. You know, a lot of people would judge me too. I don't work on other cars. I only work on Ferraris. So, you know,
Donald approved.
Take it as you may.
Donald approved, but Sam's pissed because he's got a Skoda with a carburetor problem that we were hoping you could
Is it
diagnose
here?
remotely.
Not here, no.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can hold off until October, I'll help you out.
Yo, let's go. Side mission.
He'll break it. He'll fix it and then break it for October.
So you mentioned you keep using the word passion, and my question to you would be, how did you discover your car passion? I know that the three of us have a defining moment in our lives where we knew who we wanted to be or who we were going to be. And it seems like from your past, you don't, it's not like you come from a car family. Like I got a lot of stuff from my dad, and I know Ben did. Sean is similar to you. He didn't come from a car family. So where did you discover that? How did that happen?
Quite a story, I suppose.
Go into it.
Not your traditional story. I grew up about 25 minutes from here.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes an hour, depending on the time of day with traffic. And I started acting when I was 5 years old, doing commercials and whatnot. And that meant I was commuting to and from the city and spending hours and hours and hours in traffic every single day. And I would entertain myself by staring out the window and looking at the cars that were driving by. And it got to the point where I would play different games to try and distract myself. Okay, who makes that car? What colors does that car come in? What years did they make that car? What's it powered with? What drivetrain is in it? Etc. And once I got through all of the newer cars, I was kind of bored, and I was really attracted to the cars that looked different, which I didn't really understand, you know, were the older cars. So if I could find a car that I hadn't seen before or I hadn't heard of, which was, you know, somebody just driving their 67 911 around the corner or whatever it was, those were the ones that I was super fascinated by and kind of fixated over, and would go home and take to a little Google search and figure out what it was and kind of wait to see another one day. And that's essentially where the infatuation with cars grew. My family never really had any classic cars or any interest in cars whatsoever. My grandfather had a 1966 Mustang that was his daily driver, but he didn't drive it because he was a car guy. He drove it because he was from the Depression era, and you wouldn't get rid of a car.
Right.
You wouldn't get rid of something if it was broken. So
That's cool.
that was his
makes
car,
sense.
so he kept driving it.
Yeah.
So I had, you know, kind of that close by that I had access to, which I was like, all right, this thing's pretty cool. And then I, you know, was exposed to cars just driving around the street. It's driving season all year round here, so we're pretty spoiled in that regard. Fast forward to my first trip to the Peterson Automotive Museum when I was 11 years old. Saw a Bugatti Type 57 Atlantique there, and was hooked. I mean, like, infatuated to a level that I had yet to experience. I was so impacted, so moved by that car. I kept getting lost with my group because I kept turning around to go look at that car. So that was, I think, initially where that passion developed. It was, you know, kind of by chance, but also I was just bit by the bug, you know, being integrated and the culture here, or the car culture here, indirectly. That was it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think there's something really to be said about the car culture here and the impact it has on people, and just seeing different cars, on the road. And like all of us as kids, like look at cars, but you're going to see different stuff here.
Absolutely.
It's going to make a different impact. But also the Peterson Museum part's super interesting, because that's also like what we do in our world at the museum, is getting kids into it. And it's like that plays such a massive role. So like without the Peterson, basically you're saying you wouldn't be here today, in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I would be, but it certainly played a huge role. But I mean, even before I had gone to the Peterson, I kind of knew I wanted to do something in this industry. But I grew up in a very traditional family where boys were boys and girls were girls. And I was encouraged to act, and I was encouraged to dance, and not encouraged to sing because I couldn't. But me wanting to learn how to change oil and, tune a carburetor, that wasn't up my parents' alley.
Well, you got Sam's carb to work on.
Yeah, exactly. So. But it was over my parents' head, and I absolutely love my family. I adore them, but they weren't bit by the bug, so they don't understand what it means to some degree.
Right.
Now they have a respect for it, because they know they are able to really see my passion. So they're like, okay, yeah, absolutely, cars are cool. But back then, when I was saying I love cars, they were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're just a little person. Yeah.
No, I had almost exactly the same thing, where my parents were just like, my earliest memories were with cars were like helping my dad decide what car to buy, for like a new car. But and it was never anything crazy. It was just like I was so in love with it, and my parents always supported me. But I had that bug. I used to get every car and driver, and I had stacks and stacks and stacks of cars and drivers in my room, and I would just breeze through them. And it is one of those passions that I feel like it's, you can get so deep into it, and there's so many focuses to it.
I was just going to say, we were talking about music before we got on. It's like music and cars are such deep dives. Like you can just keep going deeper into both topics. I mean, but cars, it's like in your profession, it literally would never end. It
never ends.
It never ends. And the amount of knowledge that you have to, just bloom with is immense. And the levels and the different measurements and everything that you're involved with is just like astronomical compared to on a face level, with maybe some other niches, but it's crazy how deep you can get into it. And that's part of why the bug is so crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's a process too. I think that's something that I really admire about the people that I'm, privileged to work with, is nobody has ever hit their peak.
Right.
They are constantly trying to grow and evolve and become the best they can be. And nobody has said, I'm an expert, I'm good enough,
Right. Yeah.
I'm the rookie, but sometimes they come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this?
How do you work this app on my iPhone? I can't turn the brightness up.
No, honestly, I don't even know how to work a cell phone, unfortunately.
No, it is amazing when you're working on something for so long, and then you pull someone in with fresh perspective on something, and it's just like you can solve it so quickly. I completely get that.
I mean, that's also kind of the name of the game, is when you're a mechanic, you have to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
So it's always good to, if you're having trouble with something, take a break, take 5 minutes, go have a cup of coffee, come back, look at something with fresh eyes, a new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's like where us men over here, we would just be too stubborn and we just keep going. So I think we need to do that sometimes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the Italian in me is very stubborn. But
we work with this guy, we know how that is.
Yeah.
But I mean, but nobody's perfect, and we all have our good days and our bad days.
How was the integration? You mentioned that you're the rookie. I don't think that you're the rookie anymore, that you've had a couple years of doing this now. But how was the integration into the shop? Was that a difficult period? Were people not accepting? Were people accepting? Like, how was that process?
It's been interesting. And I think not just being a rookie, but also being a woman in the industry comes with a lot. to deal with on a lot of levels. And so if we're not even talking necessarily about camaraderie within the shop, but also respect from our clientele and respect from people in the Concours industry, people who I'm training with as a judge, that type of deal too. I think I've just sort of, like I mentioned, my stubbornness before, I've just approached it with this buckle up mentality. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to become the best I can be. And that means leaving my ego at the door and knowing when to ask a question and when to ask for help and when to challenge myself by not asking for help to see if I can figure it out myself. So I think it's a balance. It definitely depends on the scenario.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you the youngest team member?
I have the least amount of experience, but I'm not technically the youngest.
Yeah.
My boss's son, who is an incredible mechanic, had the privilege of growing up at the shop. So he's been professionally working on cars for 15 years, even though he's younger than I am.
Wow.
So I think that's such an incredible thing. I'm kind of jealous of that, if I'm being totally honest. I wish I had that much experience, but we'll get there. It's all part of it.
I look at kids like that all the time. I was just with my friend Doug, and we stopped at his buddy's house, and him and this guy and his dad who I just met are working on this BMW M3 that they're going to track all year. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, like, I'm not a mechanic. I don't have that level of hand skills or level of knowledge. But where was that kind of tipping point for you where you went from, oh, I like cars, to, oh, I think I want to be a mechanic, to the kind of slippery slope of understanding the real technical aspects of not just Ferrari engines, which are incredibly, the tolerances are so tight and all that. But where was that tipping point where you really started to compound knowledge?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question.
Just try to speak more directly into it. No, you're good.
Actually, I take it back. I'm not sorry.
All right, start it for the whole thing.
No, you're good.
What was the point where I started to compound knowledge? Yeah,
like where, okay, I want to be a mechanic, to, okay, I understand oil changes, to this and that. And then, where did you start, or I guess, when did you start to understand the really complicated aspects and things started to click and your brain started to really understand the engine as a whole and how it works? Because that's not an overnight thing.
Yeah, no.
And none of us are on that level in this room.
Absolutely not.
It's a.
We didn't learn that in road and track.
No, we didn't.
You didn't?
No.
That's where I learned it.
I learned how to read from magazines, but that's
we didn't get that
story.
issue, I guess. But I mean, like for me, like being in this profession, like that's not my role. Like I'm in operations, but at some point you have to understand, like, okay, this car's not starting, and Sean and I can generally bounce off each other what the issue is, but it's not like we can fix the issue. And that next level for me is incredibly challenging and daunting. So how did that kind of happen for you?
I think it's time. I think that's the biggest thing. I graduated from McPherson College about 1.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I went into that experience without any. I didn't know how to turn a wrench. I didn't know what vice grips were. I looked at the tool board and I was totally overwhelmed, but that just made me work harder.
Yeah, gave you the hunger.
Exactly. Because I said, I'm in this place, I have an incredible opportunity here. If I can figure out what it is I want to do and devote everything I have to it, people here will recognize it and they'll help me get there.
For sure.
And that's, I think, one of the many incredible things about that school is, this huge burden that they have of no big deal, nurturing the next generation of automotive restorers.
Yeah.
But they have that same passion. They're also car nerds. They were also bit by the bug, so they get it.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to my very first semester there to be enrolled in engine rebuilding. And so that was where everything clicked. Mm-hmm. That was the first moment. I went from knowing nothing to all of a sudden having this insane passion for the mechanical element or the mechanical side of the restoration industry. So from that moment on, even though I had another 2 years before I would graduate, I devoted everything I had to learning all things mechanical, and also all things Ferrari. And granted, the college doesn't teach you specifics about, or teach you how to work on a specific mark, but I devoted all of my spare time to research. And
That's awesome.
studying and, trying to prepare myself as best I could so that way when I graduated, I would be qualified to have a career as a vintage Ferrari mechanic.
And was that what was it about Ferrari that is it?
I think
She's Italian. Come on.
I was gonna say that.
All right, next question.
That's all. Yeah. I'm Italian.
Right.
No. Really.
He's a Porsche guy now, so.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I mean, we all are.
Guy.
It's a little
Listen,
much.
Sean.
I mean, I would have a Porsche.
He's a Porsche guy.
Of
In
course
the presence
I would.
of Victoria Bruno, Ferrari mechanic. I like Ferraris.
And there's
He's a
only
Porsche
one
guy.
Ferrari in the building right now. So
Yeah, it's ours.
It's ours.
We brought it here.
But to answer your question, I don't think there was an official I know about cars now
Yeah.
moment. Right. I think it's been a progression, and
it's been a build up.
It's cool to look back to a year ago. Like I was telling Antonio earlier, I'm doing a belt service on an F40 right now, and if you were to have asked me a year ago, would I have any interest in working on a fuel injected car, I would have laughed.
Right.
Yeah, above my pay grade is what I would have said. I don't know anything about these, but a year later, now I'm doing a belt service on one, and I understand what's going on, and I'm doing a good job, and I don't say that egotistically. I say that because I'm proud of how far I've come and the work that I do, that we do at the shop. So I think that's the answer. Just constantly strive for growth.
So you also received a like a scholarship for McPherson as well, didn't you? Mm-hmm. That's like a pretty hard scholarship to get, right?
Which one? I'm just kidding.
Just like racking up scholarships like she's racking up trophies.
No, I'm kidding, but no, I was lucky enough to receive quite a few. So the Jesse Combs Foundation really helped me out. The Piston Foundation really helped me out. Jules J. and Sally Human through Pebble Beach. RM, SEMA, and then a few through the college as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
And awesome. How many females were there
in the program?
Yeah,
she was the only one in her class, right?
Oh, really?
The only one graduating in my class that year. But so in the program, there's about 150 students, I want to say, and I think when I was there were like 6 women.
Wow.
6, maybe 7.
Yeah, for me, I have a 5-year-old daughter, so like, very important to me is part of what you do, like advocating for women, and is that something?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I've had to experience some unfortunate situations in this industry, and I think about if I have a daughter, and if they have to go through the things that I've gone through, I'm horrified.
Yeah.
Horrified. That's the last thing that I want to see anyone have to go through in any means, like a level of not being accepted or just being harassed or taken advantage of, or not even being respected for the work that you do. And I think yes, to answer your question, absolutely, it's a huge passion of mine to make a safe space for women in the industry, but also to encourage all people to be able to encourage people to have opportunities to follow their passions, despite how unconventional they are. But in regard to women and creating space, a well-deserved space in this industry, I think the most important thing that everyone can do as a community is to be able to provide learning opportunities for people.
Are we like on?
Oh, Chief,
No.
we've been on.
Oh, I was on my phone. Like, all right, we're waiting for like the ready go.
All right, so let's.
Oh,
Right.
Should we practice the leg cross real quick? Because I do think we shouldn't.
Right,
let's do it now. Okay, wait. So, what
Is
leg
it
does everyone
right-
want crossed right now? Like,
I think
moving forward?
right over left. You're left over right now. Do you want to do that?
Do we want to go back to left over right?
Listen, we're freaking out over the details. Pick a leg.
Well, we should all start the same so we can be on the other.
So do you want your left leg over your right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I'll do whatever.
All right.
means it's a
So we start with right over, and then we go.
Right, left. No,
No,
it would have to be a
Oh.
left,
Or should we
right.
just do a seamless transition? I like
just go
this,
3, 2, 1.
Someone's just got to
like,
trigger.
3, 2, 1. Just a seamless. You're doing it wrong because.
Bro, you're invading her leg space. Come on. Stop man spreading.
Okay.
Okay, wait. So
So we're starting here and we're going like that.
Okay.
So that's it. So no steps.
why don't we just start from here
Works
Oh,
for me.
we can start from here
Okay,
too.
ready?
yeah.
Okay.
Let me know when you're recording.
on the exhale?
Still good. All set.
That was fire.
That was good.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was smooth.
That's gonna be our new thing with all of our guests.
All right. Just tee it up with
Yeah.
you have a 5-year-old
Should
daughter.
I say we had to cut because we had to move cars or no?
No.
All right. No problem.
Just fucking denied his ass. Stop. Don't rub your face juice on the thing.
All right, you ready?
Gross.
You ready?
We're all set.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. So as we were saying earlier, I have a 5-year-old daughter, River, and it's really important to me, and the Audrain as well, is that women have an opportunity not only in the automotive space, but just in, like you were saying earlier, different sort of fields that maybe aren't traditionally for females just haven't traditionally been in.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing we can do now is educate people about the bias, let them know that it exists, and that, to a degree, women are being diminished in the industry. And with that, we can provide learning opportunities for people that, may have been doing something a certain way and not used to being around women on the daily, and let them know just standards and ethics as far as how women should be treated and women deserve to be treated in the workplace.
Yeah. So obviously you're in a shop now working on Ferraris. Long term, do you see yourself, starting your own shop and integrating?
Motori Bruno, bro, obviously.
I mean, I think it's such a privilege that I, am a part of Patrick Oda's company, and what I really want to do is continue that legacy, but of course, make it my own, provide my own flair to it. Mm-hmm. My goal is to become the best Ferrari mechanical restorer in the world, and I'm going to do everything I can to get there, to learn as much as I possibly can and grow as much as I possibly can. But I don't have, necessarily a specific time and date as far as, 5 years from now, I will own my own shop. Yeah. But I think we have such a strong unit between, Tatio and I, which is Patrick's son, mm-hmm. who's been there for 15 years.
Sounds Irish.
Does it actually?
Irish? That's a joke.
It's a joke,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Okay.
Joke. Oh, all right.
Fine Irish boy.
I was like, wait a second.
Good try.
Anyways.
Yeah. Good old New Volare.
Yeah, also Irish.
The same, sense of stubbornness really is the bottom line between that. But no, Tatio and I have a great thing going. I think we, understand what needs to be carried forward, and we're both really passionate about doing that. And I think it takes a village, it takes a strong team to be able to, get the job done. So I'm really grateful to be there, and all I want to do is be able to continue that forward.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to a lot of things. Rod Emery was here a couple days ago, and it's so important to him as well. His family's very heavily involved.
They're so locked in.
His daughter works there. His son-in-law. They're all now focused on building and continuing the legacy. The fourth generation right now, and I think. For me, it's when I started working here, all I heard from a lot of, let's say, the older people, that there's no youth involved in the automotive space anymore.
Which is still one of the most absurd statements
young
I've
people
ever
don't care
heard.
about cars, but then we meet people like you who are just so inspiring, and not only when you're in your 20s decided you wanted to be a mechanic, but you're also a female going into a very, understanding what you're going into, and you're doing it super successfully.
Yeah.
So I think, having someone like you is such, it's so hopeful for me, having my daughter, knowing that there's people like you for her to look up to. You know what I mean?
That
So I
means
think-
a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's
And I think it's
very kind.
yeah. I think it's kind of like one of those side effects that you've
I
been able
mean,
to do with
you
your
know-
not only your social media but just everything.
Well,
that you've
and
done.
that's why I took to social media to begin with. I mean, and even when I first started at Patrick Oda's company, Patrick was the one who encouraged me to share what I was doing with other people. He
Yeah.
was like, people need to know. Nobody knows about, you and your story and what you're doing. And he goes, you get to work here and you get to work on these cars. People need to know. Are you telling people?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, does that mean social media? And he goes, whatever. Like, just share it with people.
Well,
Yeah.
it was
Twit face.
shocking when we met you in Pebble last year. That was 10 months ago, and we all followed you on Instagram, and you had like 800 followers, and then you kind of like the momentum started about then, and like 6 months later you had however many followers, and it was like, holy crap, like
Yeah, it
she
blew
has
up.
blown up on social
blew
media,
up.
and
It's been
like
a wild experience.
yeah, I'm sure
Do
it's
you
been a
get-
wild
Not what I
experience.
expected, that's for sure. I mean, I had
Yeah.
to check back in. I was like, hey, Patrick, remember how you told me
Yeah.
you wanted me to share?
Yeah, maybe I
we are
overshared.
And it was a good
sharing.
idea. Are we still okay with this? Because this is a
Yeah.
whole other
Absurd.
level.
Well, it's
this is
great
this
for the
is
business.
A lot
I was
of
just gonna say
exposure.
that.
Incredible
Yeah.
exposure.
Well,
Why wouldn't they?
And with him and with Tatsuo, I was like, what is best for the shop?
Yeah.
What at the end of the day, I don't.
Yeah.
I started this because I'm so passionate about sharing, again, not just with little girls out there, but with everybody,
Yeah.
just letting them know that they truly can do whatever it is they want to do. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they have the skill set, they have the capacity to attain
Yes.
whatever it is that they
Yep.
set their mind to.
And just sorry to cut you off.
No,
if you wanna
go for
finish,
it.
But bouncing off of that, I mean, McPherson's an incredible, learning environment, and the people that I've met through there, people like Cam Luther, I'm sure you know, and Stephen Duncan Peters. I mean, I was dealing with Curated and this guy who seemed like he had 20 years of experiences on the other side of this, and I meet him and he's like 5 years younger than I am. But I've had multiple experiences with McPherson grads, but the reality is not everybody has McPherson, but everybody can find a path to get into this kind of profession, whatever you want to do. For me, I saw the museum and saw that as my in. It was like within 100 miles of me, there wasn't another in. But my whole thing is everyone has an opportunity to get in somewhere, to network, to make it to the next step, to then, progress your career. And everybody does that differently. So it's been interesting to watch you after meeting you literally 10 months ago and you sharing your journey. And now you're in a completely different place, it seems like, at least on social media.
It's wild, but I think, and of course with the support of the shop, being able to attain my goals of being able to give back and provide, or being able to make a positive impact. Because like we had talked about earlier, is I am so grateful. I wouldn't have been able to get through school if I didn't have the support and the opportunities from not just the college, but also the donors that helped get me through. Financially, I didn't have the funds. I had enough money to get through my first semester, and that was it. And I was like, well, I'm going to go and do one semester, and I hope this works out somehow.
Yeah.
Well, it did. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
But I want to be able to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Provide financial support, but also be able to provide opportunity and say, hey, how can I help you get from A to Z? Whatever I can do, let's do it.
Well, you want to start one of your I know one of your goals is to start a foundation.
The Motori Bruno Foundation. Yes, we're in the works. Taking pledges, but paperwork is, on the way. And
Are you gonna? I was a pledge, and they've hazed me. We're not gonna get hazed if we're.
I think
pledges.
we're talking about different pledges,
What are you
but that's
talking
okay.
about? Oh, yeah.
She
Like
said that I need pledges.
Money.
Monetarily,
I know.
no, but
I know, I'm
Your
just-
jokes are on,
My God.
on point today, Antonio.
Come
Yeah.
on, come on.
They're taking off from
What are you, Irish?
Burbank.
yeah, seriously, what are you, Irish?
But no, I'm have the groundwork going, or the foundation going, if you will.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
To be able to give back, because ultimately that's what is the most important to me.
Do you get a lot of people on Instagram messaging you, like women, and like for advice on taking the next step?
Yeah, women, also a lot of men too, and also a lot of parents, surprisingly.
Oh, that's great. That's
cool.
Which has been, I think, really rewarding to be able to have that sort of support. There's a lot of kind of garbage that you are like
Yeah, gotta
you're making
filter
yourself
through, yeah.
susceptible to when you post on the internet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically allowing opinions that you didn't ask for.
Everyone's a keyboard warrior.
Everybody's
Yep.
everybody's able to say whatever it is they want to say. But I make a point to go through and make the connections that I think are valuable and do my very best to encourage. Yeah.
I think looking at your social media, it's super refreshing to see that someone is creating curated content that you okay?
I'm just a little, me, I'm stiff. I get
Okay,
stiff. I gotta keep
you
moving.
made a face
I've
at
been
me. And I was
sitting
like,
down.
bro.
No, I'm like stiff.
We
Okay.
could play some Tropical House.
Tropical House, yeah. I'd have to get up and move to it though, so that would be a problem. But,
But no, you're good. Well, what I was saying is it's super refreshing to see your social media because you're someone who's creating genuine curated content, and it's not just and it's fine if somebody wants to do this, it's fine. But you see, especially in the car world, you see a lot of flexing, and it's post this in front of my Lambo and check out my ice. Given my job with all this, I consume a lot of media, I think we all do, and it's just nice to see that someone's making stuff that you can tell that they genuinely like to make.
The support here. Thank you guys. No, it means a lot. I think I make content that I like.
Yeah.
And that's really all I'm
Yep.
concerned about as far as what it looks like. If I make something that I'm entertained by or that makes me laugh.
Right.
Gotta work on
really,
that singing,
the
though.
majority of it, I'm if I think this is funny, then I'm absolutely going to post it. But ultimately, I want every post that I make to have a positive message behind it. If it's
Right.
not encouraging, if it's not light and making people want to go out there and do whatever it is that what am I trying to say? If it doesn't encourage people to follow their passions, then I'm not gonna post it. I always think about that before.
I think part of your
click
stuff
post.
that seems to have gotten some traction is that with social media, I think people try to pick other people apart. With our stuff,
Yep.
I get hounded for slouching in this chair.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
no,
'Cause
I'm
you're
not
a slouch.
Really?
It's no, I'm not
We get
slouching. I'm
ripped-
just
we get ripped
5'6".
apart.
It's that's I'm not slouching. I'm just this short. But with your stuff, it's actually what you're doing. And I think people try to look for it and figure out, she's faking it, or she's not really working on the car. But it's
You can
no.
tell she's a mechanic because
Yeah.
of her, not a mechanic because of her hands. That's
Yeah,
what they
right.
say.
Oh, yeah. It's you look, it's oh, yeah, that she's definitely faking it. But there's a serious authenticity to it. And I think that's what really people are looking for in social media today. It's not just, there's people who maybe like Sam and I who just share stupid memes all day. But then there's the people who actually look for genuine content. And you're now providing
learn,
that,
yeah.
which is really, refreshing,
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember on my very first video that kind of had some success, I got hounded for
Plane crash, don't worry about it.
Oh, oh my god!
Ghost of-
I got hounded for Fram filters on a Ferrari. They're
Oh, God.
OEM.
Yeah.
They're OEM,
God.
and nobody knew that. But you have all
There's
the new
always
car
something.
guys that just don't know, but want to tell you how to do your job.
Yeah.
So
Not cool.
Me.
So, what was I going to say? Wow. Dude, it's just airplanes, man. I got distracted, but it's the child in me heard the
Sam, what airplane was that distracted him?
Can you tell us
They're all
what that-
737s
Oh, you're gonna check.
flying out of here.
Yeah, check real quick.
They're all
Let's get it.
737s,
Yeah,
pretty
there's
much.
a lot of private jets.
I know, but
do you have an app?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Flight Radar
Flight
24.
Radar.
Radar 24, we all have it.
Yeah, we're all locked in.
We're all.
No, okay, I did remember my question. So,
Thank God.
with
Actually, we'll move on to the next one.
He thought of a new one, but he's
Next.
gonna say.
Anyways,
That was
rejected,
an
rejected.
Embraer
it was a
ERJ
PJ.
145, yeah.
Oh, hell
say
yeah.
where it's going, or
It's only 737
Las Vegas.
spare.
nice.
Oh, they're
weekend
going,
in
they're
Vegas.
going partying for the
Good deal.
weekend.
Good update.
So, you and I were talking earlier, and we were looking at the Ferrari 599 GTO. And as a young person, I feel like most car enthusiasts like cars that are of their era and of their age. And you mentioned to me, you were like, I don't I don't even know what this is. Like, I stopped caring after the 360, and you said, I only care because, you know, it has a gated shifter, and that car has a gated shifter. So why the attraction to the vintage ones? Like, what's there's got to be something.
I have a follow-up question to this, by the way,
Yeah.
so let's not get away from that. I think it's a good question, so go ahead.
I do not recall.
You plead the fifth.
I'm just kidding. I think this might sound cliche, but I think with the 50s, 60s, 70s cars, there is such a visceral experience, a visceral driving experience.
Yep.
And I mean, the cars that I feel like I keep saying this because I'm so privileged to be able to work on these incredible automobiles. The reason those were created was to have an experience.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't to get from point A to point B, you know, and move on to the next thing and hustle and bustle and, you know, do a million things throughout your day, which is, you know, you get in your car, you press the on button and you go, and you don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how cars today are made and designed. And that just something, it wasn't in the thought process before. And I think it's evident in every single detail in those cars. They're special. And it, you know, so special that you could even argue that they have souls.
Right.
You know,
They do.
Fuel injected cars, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just that's why my passion is there, is because they're so unique and because they provide access to a time that truly no longer is.
Yeah.
Especially when you drive them.
I was going to say that. And you get hooked when you drive a car that, a car that you would drive, that you would service at your shop. You drive it before it gets serviced and you're like, this is great. This is, you know, I feel like this is driving, you know, this is a great experience. And then you service it.
Oh, it's so much
A
better.
proper service. And then you drive it and you're like, holy shit, this is like a completely different car. And I think that for me was, you know, the first one of the cars. It was a Porsche, but a 67S that we bought at auction. I drove it. I was like,
Not me.
I was like, this is a great driving experience. You know, love it. I can understand it. We sent it out, got it serviced, pretty major service, came back. It was like a new car. And I think that feeling of not only providing that satisfaction to a customer, but being able to bring that car back to how it's, you know, its true potential. I think that is really the difference, like you were saying, from like a 599 GTO to, you know, let's say a 330 GTC or something like that,
great car.
which is
Sure.
one of my favorite driving cars.
I mean, in like the 599, is that what it is?
Yeah.
GTO.
In the other room over there, that thing's
It's
incredible.
amazing.
You know, I'm not going to argue with you that it's not. It's absolutely incredible. But I think I am so focused and devote so much of my time to learning to become an expert in the early cars that, you know, I'm kind of saving that for somebody else who has that same amount of passion. I would hope that the people working on those cars have the same amount of passion that I have working on the early cars.
And kind of going off what
that makes
Sean
sense.
said, you know, servicing does do so much for these cars, and Ferraris are maybe renowned, true or false, that service is expensive and things go wrong. And when they do go wrong, it's expensive. I guess my question is, what kind of advice would you give to someone who owns a vintage Ferrari to kind of get the most out of it? Because
I know what she's going to say.
Because obviously, well, I think I know what I hope I know what she's going to say, because my gut reaction is you have to drive the bloody cars.
Yep.
But at the same time, you have to service the cars. You can't just let them sit or drive them without being serviced. So, like, what would you say to someone who's looking to get the most out of their 330 GTC, for example?
Drive it.
Drive it.
Amen.
Keep everything lubed up.
That's when all of your systems function the best, as they should. If you let your car sit for a year, I was going to say 5 years, but even a year, your hydraulic systems are shot. They're going to need to be serviced.
It's going to need to be serviced either way, so you might as well drive it.
Exactly. And I think we kind of have a shared mentality at the shop, which is, if you have your car, use your car.
Yep.
Enjoy your car. Don't just stare at it. And I think it was built to be driven. It may as well be driven.
Right.
And sure, I understand that, a lot of Ferraris are quite valuable, and, you're not just talking about, a $500,000 car sometimes. You're talking about multi-million dollars. And so I think that sometimes from the owners, there can be a sense of fear to hurt it or damage it. But at the same time, back to what we used to say in high school, you only live once.
Yep.
YOLO.
Drop a gear, baby.
Why not enjoy it? But I think also, from a maintenance perspective, they just work the best when you do use them.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think we've all come to understand
Yeah.
that.
We all attest to that.
You don't want your jets getting all clogged up in your carburetors
Sam.
over there. And if you use it, they won't.
So what has been the greatest Ferrari driving experience that you've had?
That was actually my next question.
If you can say.
Oh my goodness.
If you can, or maybe if
Well, I
you can
can
narrow it
say
down
we
to
are-
a couple of them.
We are well insured at the shop. So
Yeah, there you go.
Of
and
course.
it's part of the job. You have to drive it to figure out what's wrong. And
I
then you
gotta
have
figure
to
out what's wrong.
then you have to, you fix it and you have to drive it again to make sure that you actually fix the problem.
Yep.
It's a safety issue. Come on.
Yep.
We call it tech support.
Oh yeah, I'm big on tech support. Yeah, give me 3 hours.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I think the most memorable experience was probably my first 2 days there. My first day, I drove my first Ferrari, or the first
Right.
Ferrari I had ever driven, which was a 365 GTC.
Nice.
Great start.
Nice.
That same day, an hour later, I drove a 250 Lusso.
Oh.
And then the next day, I drove a 275.
Oh my God.
And so
My favorite Ferrari.
to
So
have
beautiful.
that, like, I just was on an adrenaline high
Yeah.
that kind of hasn't
Yeah. You're like, this place is going to work
because
out.
I get to keep
Yeah.
doing that. And so it's like but at the same time, it's been, well, so when we're talking about favorite, I think we have such a diverse amount of car. Is that,
Yeah,
how do you
makes
say
sense.
that?
Yeah.
All the
We have-
experiences are
We have
different.
a lot of diversity within, the cars that we get to work on at the shop.
What is your favorite part during the drive? Is it shifting? Is it the sound? Is it flying through a corner? Is it the braking, steering, or just the wind through your hair? Like what's your favorite part of the drive?
So with the 60s cars and kind of 70s as well, 60s, let's just say with the 50s through 70s,
Yeah.
the carbureted cars, you really have to listen to the motor to know when to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just shift.
No.
You have to really listen, but also feel it. And so I don't know how to say this without.
That's good advice for someone that
It's
we
like-
know.
it's like
actually.
it's
You
bec-
can't just shift. You're gonna
Yeah.
hurt it if you just try and slam it in second.
It's like
or third
becoming
or
one.
whatever.
It's learning to become one with
Exactly.
the
It has to
car.
become an extension of
Yeah.
yourself. And so I think being able to just kind of know because you just
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
it, because you just get
Yeah.
it, because this is going to sound so weird, but you have a relationship
Yep.
with these gearboxes, with these motors. You know when, and you know when it's happy, and you know when it's mad, and
Yeah.
you know when it's just being cheeky.
Yeah.
So
And no two are the same. They have similarities, but they drive. No two cars are ever going to be the same from that era.
I think our collective earliest Ferrari driving experience with Audrain is Ferrari 330 GTC, and we absolutely
Interesting.
Like the earliest one I've driven.
yeah. What's the other? That's
No, the 52.
okay. The 250 Europa.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't driven that car. So that experience for me when I got to drive that car, having driven modern Ferraris, was amazing. It was like euphoric for me. But one of my all-time favorite Ferrari moments was when I did the Mille Miglia 3 years ago. We were coming through a tunnel towards the end of the race, and Donald and I were in a 1940 Seata with 46 horsepower. So we
were cooking.
Yeah, we were cooking. And a guy in a Ferrari 250 Mille Miglia passed us through the tunnel, and it was probably, I mean, it's a pretty lengthy tunnel, and it was probably 4 or 5 solid seconds of him going all out through like 2 gears, and the echo and the sound through the tunnel it gave me goosebumps. And I think about it now, and you cannot replicate that sound in a modern car. It just doesn't exist.
You have to rev those high too.
Yeah,
That's
it was
a race
amazing.
car.
Yeah,
it was
race cars.
amazing.
So I think gonna pinch myself. Yeah, I've been in one of those too, and it's insane. And I think I don't know that the novelty will ever wear off. Maybe it has a little bit. My engines professor from McPherson, who's been an incredible mentor to me. Shout out Kurt Goodwin.
What up, Kurt?
We were chatting the other day, and he goes, can you like send me just some cool Ferrari photos? You haven't done that in a really long time. And that was the moment I realized, this is just this is work now. I don't think about it every day. But it's still,
that's normal.
I'm incredibly grateful to be there. I never take it for granted in that sort of sense. But it is funny that it's like, okay, we're a good chunk in. I'm not freaking out that there's an F40, a 250 short wheelbase, 365, Cal Spider, this and that, like a Mondial, it's just another day.
That was
just Tuesday.
That was like the biggest thing when I started. It was like just preventing myself from being distracted.
Yeah.
From everything around me. Like I was like, I just got to think about these cars as items on a spreadsheet and just roll from there.
I think I am maybe like broken to some degree because I don't. A lot of people will ask me, they'll be like, I don't know how you do it. How can you work on these things? They're so expensive. Never crosses my mind.
Yep.
It can't, because if it does, then you get distracted and you're not fully focused.
Never once crossed my mind that or been a contributing factor to any sort of decision made. Like I'm gonna treat this car the same, or I'm gonna treat my personal car the same way I would treat this car, which is I'm gonna do a good job. I'm gonna ask questions if I need help, and I'm gonna rely on my capacity to do a good job. So yeah.
Did you like build Legos as a kid? That's something I was wondering. Like, did you have, because I didn't build Legos and I don't have hand skills.
I did.
No.
Yeah, I know you did, but you don't have hand skills either, so that really doesn't add up.
No, I didn't.
I wasn't asking you.
Well,
So.
I think there was such a huge contrast between my childhood or even like my young adulthood, and where I've been over the last few years now is like I didn't do any of that. And also too, going into my time at McPherson, I didn't go in with a passion for rebuilding engines. I went in thinking I was gonna want to do like metal fab or body work or all that, and just had no interest in it when it actually got time to doing the classes. I enjoyed it, but I was like, I don't want to do this all day every day.
Right.
I want to work on engines. And so I think it was just like a part of my brain that I never
Unlocked.
I didn't know I was capable of doing it.
Right. Yeah, when I was just telling Sean out the other day, I didn't, and I've said this on the podcast before, I didn't understand how to learn and put information together until I got into cars, because there's just so many pieces that have to come together, to make it work. So,
but I think that's a testament to how much of a contributing factor passion is as well.
Huge.
Because I was a terrible student. I hated school growing up. I was so bad at it. And it was because I wasn't interested in what I was learning. But then the second I got to McPherson, I started doing really well. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Because you loved it.
Why am I doing so well? Oh, wait, because I'm obsessed with what I'm learning.
Well, you also have that amazing self-awareness where I think a lot of people lack that and, kind of just do what they're told.
This is it. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, they do what they're told. I'm going to work
flow,
this.
Going through the
you
motions.
really have, it's clear that you've had this drive your entire life, and that's something that's really to be said, and that's not many people have that. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe it was the drive too, but also I went in my late 20s, and I was surrounded by a bunch of 18-year-olds that had been doing this their entire lives.
Yeah.
And I transferred in as a junior. I only had 2 years to figure it out. So
it's got to be terrifying.
I had some, I put my own pressure on my shoulders to leave on the best note I could. I was like, what am I going to do? Waste my time and my resources? No, I got to give this all I got.
Amazing.
So with the rest of the car season for us, because we're in the Northeast, California's gifted
spoiled
car seasons the whole year. You have some pretty exciting things coming up. You're going to be at Pebble Beach again this year, and I know that last year you guys actually won best of class.
Second in class.
Second. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah, I'm
that
sorry.
Irish memory.
It's Irish memory. Second in class with a car that you and your classmates actually restored at the shop at McPherson, which I think is incredible.
Student restored.
I mean, for a young person to go across the stage at Pebble Beach is huge. It's a huge honor to do that.
Yeah, that was, I mean, that experience restoring that car, 1953 Mercedes-Benz 300S. I'll never forget that, ever. I also made, friends for life working on that car. There's, just a group of us that
it's awesome.
we just have,
blood, sweat,
a trauma bond.
Yeah, trauma bond. I was gonna say.
Is the truth. But no, we went through the trenches together. And they're all just such incredibly talented restorers individually. And also same thing, like the desire to do it right. All of us, we wanted to do it right. We wanted to do it the best way. And if, one of us would execute a task and consult the other one, hey, is this good enough? No, well, then we'll do it again. And, we'll do it until we get it right. Because we're essentially, like, for me, I didn't know how to restore cars. I learned how to by doing a Concours level a Pebble Beach level
trial
restoration.
By fire.
So it was like, again, with the pressure,
Right.
like you have no choice but to excel. There is no other option. So, an experience I'm incredibly great for. I love those guys dearly. And again, also shout out to Brian Martin, who led that whole project. He was involved with Audrain and whatnot. I'm too. So, yeah. And then to get second in class, to even place.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
awesome. I saw that car I saw it at Pebble, but it's so crowded, but I got to look at it before the tour for Amelia Island this year, and it's a beautiful car.
Yeah. We're very proud of it. We're very proud of each other. And yeah, I mean, being able to drive over the ramp was so special. So
nice.
I can't wait to do that with the Ferrari one day.
It'll be sooner. Yeah, I think it's happening.
But yeah, so I'll be there. I'm going to head over to the UK for a couple of Concours events and for the Goodwood
Privé?
Revival.
Are you going to
Revival,
Salon Privé
cool.
or just Goodwood?
Goodwood, and then it's Hampton Court.
Hampton Court, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
And yeah.
Are you judging at those events or?
No.
Okay.
I'm just attending because
Nice.
I love cars.
Nice.
And yeah, then you guys.
The most important
one.
Audrain.
I know I'm going to be chatting with Betty Parrish, who I have not yet had the pleasure to meet, but I hear that she's incredible. So I'm excited to pick her brain and to be able to spend some time with her too. And then of course, get to know Donald a little more as well.
Nice. No, we're looking forward to it.
We're thrilled.
And thank you for coming on the show and
of course
and taking the time to speak with us and
flying up here. Maybe half Leno's garage,
down.
half of this.
flying down.
Oh, flying down.
Bro, do you
Flying
even
up.
know
You gotta fly up,
California,
but you
Chief?
can't
Come on.
fly down.
You do have to fly
You
up.
fly up and then come down.
It's all set.
I mean, come on.
But yeah, no, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your inspiring story. And we hope that you continue to inspire more.
I appreciate the support. Thanks, guys.
Of course.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for watching and listening along. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.